The guys have delayed the day's jump until the afternoon. There's been a storm in the morning, but by lunchtime, the skies have cleared.
Cloud's gonna blow over.
It was sunny, you know, some white clouds, but nothing stormy. Minus the intermittent clouds, things that day looked like they would be just the same as the day before.
Hey, Bradley, what's up, buddy?
So we all started getting our rigs together and getting our gear on to get ready to go skydiving.
Yeah, good to go. Ready? Let's go, Jimmy, baby.
The plane we flew down there was a Cessna 206. It was a small airplane, smaller than probably most cars.
All right, my man.
Planes for skydiving are generally, they'll take out the seats. So it's basically an open compartment in the back, and we'll sit back to leg, you know, so kind of sit in a row so that we're packed in there nice and tight, you know.
Okay, blue skies, safe landing.
Fire up, baby. Jump up, ready?
Yeah.
Nervous, man? You look nervous.
A little bit.
The atmosphere on board is light-hearted.
I was there.
But as the plane climbs, the weather begins to close in.
We're expecting at some point to come out above the clouds, but we just never did.
With no break in the clouds in sight, the guys decide to turn back.
Okay, guys, it's too thick.
It's just not worth taking the risk.
We were a little disappointed, but we all skydive a lot, so it wasn't a big deal, you know, we'd get over it. We're used to clouds, and, you know, you don't jump through clouds generally, so it was fine.
But as the plane turns and makes its way back to base, they hit serious trouble.
Within 20 seconds after we started going into minor turbulence,
God, I hate this car.
it just got worse and worse.
Okay.
Then the plane started going into massive turbulence. I was definitely not a happy camper, you know. I didn't want to be in a little tiny plane flying crazily all over the sky.
No.
Seconds later, the plane begins to lose control.
The plane was just going haywire. It even started to tilt. I was on the ceiling, I was on the floor, I was on the ceiling, I was on the floor. I was frightened. At that point, there wasn't much we could do except ride it out or jump out.
Get the lag.
With the plane now hurtling towards Earth, Will and his friends have no option but to take drastic emergency action.
And at that point, we all started going for the door, trying to get it up. It was the only thing we could do. It took us 4 tries to get the door open because we were being thrown about the airplane so much.
Come on.
Despite not knowing how high they are and if they have enough time to parachute properly, they dive into the void.
Once that door was open, my butt was out of that airplane. I did not want to be there. I knew that. I trust my skydiving equipment. I trust my parachute, and I did not trust that airplane at that point. I just got out. 5 to 8 seconds later, my automatic parachute went off, which means I was going at a very fast velocity at about 700 feet. We were very low in very low cloud cover, and it was a shock to me. At that point, I looked around for my friends. I saw Jimmy under his canopy as well, going the other way quite a distance off, and Manny was under his canopy next to me, flying parallel to me.
Will is desperate to know that his old friend, Manny, is okay.
I kept calling out to him to try and get his attention so that we were coordinated on landing. But he never answered. He was just kind of limp, you know, His head was hanging down, and my assumption at that point was that he got hit by the airplane coming out. It occurred to me that he might be dead.
Just seconds after jumping, Will is now hurtling towards Earth at 40 miles an hour, with absolutely no idea where he might land.
The plane crashed in the water behind me, and I looked back and saw the tail of the plane sticking out of the water. I was in somewhat shock at that point.
Will has hit the ocean, still attached to his parachute rig, and he must act fast to avoid drowning.
If you land in water, you want to get your chest strap off so that you can take your gear off immediately and swim under the parachute. At that point, it was really about focus and trying to do the right thing, so if there's a chance of survival, that you survive. It took me 2 or 3 minutes, and that was a pretty scary feeling because you can actually get tangled up in the lines and drown.
On surfacing, Will's first thoughts of his friends. They've also dived out of the plane. One of them, Manny, seemed in serious trouble.
I removed my shirt and my shoes because I wanted to be able to freely swim over and find Manny. I felt the need to act fast because if Manny was unconscious, then it was important to get to him and keep his head out of the water.
Manny! Manny! Manny!
He wasn't answering me. I didn't see his parachute. I didn't see anything.
Manny! Is there anybody there? Don't worry.
So I swam around toward where I thought he would have landed. I didn't even see a lick of him.
With his friends gone, Will quickly has to face up to his complete isolation.
Hello?
I accepted the fact that I was alone in a pair of shorts in the middle of the ocean. There was nothing. The plane went under. I saw no parachutes, no Jimmy, no Manny, no nothing, except ocean.
Stranded miles out in the Pacific Ocean, Will is overcome with a feeling of complete hopelessness. And he can see no way out.
Which is why I decided that being eaten would be a much better option.
Come on! You hungry? Ah! Come and get it, come on!
But the sharks don't come, and Will begins to take stock of his predicament.
If I'd been off the coast of the States, there would be Coast Guard and other boats looking for me within a short period of time, but this was a third world country. So I thought, you know, don't be a spoiled American and think there's going to be a boat coming to get you. You have to survive this or not.
Let's just enjoy the view.
Alone in the ocean, with night fast approaching, Will decides to fight back.
I started to have to make decisions about what exactly I was going to do. I had to do something. I didn't want to expend all my energy treading water when I knew that if I just laid back, I could float. The most important thing out there was retaining calm and not panicking, because panic I knew would kill me. Staying calm, and that required a faculty that was born anew in myself, that I think I've certainly never experienced before.
Out in the ocean, Will has been struggling to stay afloat for 5 hours. His muscles are drawing on emergency reserves of adrenaline. He's beginning to suffer acute exhaustion, and he's in complete darkness.
I could scarcely see my hand in front of my face. It felt like I was in a dark, dark place, a dark world. It was very isolating. I don't think that I've ever felt more vulnerable.
But as he drifts alone in the dark, Will suddenly gets his first ray of hope.
I saw 5 or 6 lights spaced out across the land. I had no idea how far they were. I knew they were lights and therefore human, and I was pretty convinced that was where the land was.
It's the glimmer of hope he's been waiting for, and Will makes for the shore.
I had to go slow, calm, collected, cool. I would do maybe 20 to 30 backstrokes and then stop. It was a great thing I knew where the land was.
Just as safety seems within reach, the undercurrents begin to pull him further out, back to the ocean, and back into the night.
I was exhausted. I was just exhausted. I saw no actual possibility of me getting out of the ocean alive.
Out at sea, Will's been in the ocean for 9 hours. The water temperature has dropped to 45 degrees. He's rapidly losing body heat and dehydrating even further from the effects of swallowing seawater.
And as soon as it got to be night, the swells were getting bigger, it was colder, and I was getting more water in my mouth, which I knew eventually over time could be responsible for taking my life.
No search has been mounted, and he's fast running out of hope.
I saw no boats. It was dark. I didn't think there was any way I was going to last overnight in the ocean. No boats, no planes. I'm dead, man. I don't think that I've ever felt more vulnerable. My life, my essence of actually the physical life anyway, was teetering on an edge.
Just when it seems things can get no worse, Will comes under attack from beneath the water.
I realized that I was in a school of jellyfish, and they were stinging me all over my back.
Jellyfish tentacles contain thousands of tiny needle-like filaments that deliver small doses of venom just below the skin.
The pain was excruciating. It was all over my back, my legs, my feet, everywhere. It was extremely painful.
The jellyfish is stinging Will's skin, leaving welts and bleeding sores. The salt water stings him relentlessly.
It was excruciatingly painful. I was crying. I mean, it hurt so badly.
Will desperately tries to escape the jellyfish.
I swam faster to swim out of the school.
But he just keeps swimming into yet another school.
I was, taken aback by the amount of times I was stung by the jellyfish. My God, how much worse can this get?
Come on.
It was excruciating.
The relentless stinging causes Will's mind to wander. What else is in the water, waiting to attack him?
Sharks hunt at night, and do I splash around until a shark comes and eats me? It seemed a horror. It seemed...
And then his worst fears become real. There is something in the water, and it's heading straight for him.
And I saw something floating in the water. And be it shock, I don't know, but I thought, oh, it's crocodile.
As it moves closer, Will is about to find out if a deadly nighttime predator is about to get him.
Thought, oh, great, I'll get eaten and drowned at the same time. I had no idea how far out saltwater crocodiles would swim, and this was too elongated to be a turtle. So I thought, oh, it's crocodile. I laughed, because who would think a log, a tree, is in the middle of the ocean? I was amazed.
After 10 hours in the water, the floating log is a lifeline for Will. His first lucky break since his ordeal began.
I put my arms over it and I floated with it, and was much more thankful to have something to float on rather than just my belly. It gave me a lot of hope that I didn't have before, maybe some chance that this was going to end positively.
News of the accident reaches Will's skydiving club in California.
Giles Fabris here from the club. I know it's late.
His friends fear the worst.
Will's plane's gone missing in Costa Rica.
The first thing I did was the difficult task of contacting relatives and loved ones of the missing. That was one of the most difficult tasks I think I've ever had to do.
Even though they're 3,000 miles away, they do all they can to help.
Your friends have crashed in a plane, it's in a foreign country. The first thing you do is to try and collect as much information on what's actually happening. I had an image of my friends being in the water and their life slipping away in the darkness. That was a very difficult thing to have to think about.
Call me the moment you learn anything.
Then they hear that the air-sea rescue operation won't start until daylight.
I don't think anyone's organising the search of the coastline, so we're going to do it, okay?
From their base in California, they try to do all they can to help.
Get in touch with as many boat captains as possible, okay?
We decided that we would start calling fishing boats, calling charter boats in Costa Rica, and to ask them whether they would send their boats out to look for our friends.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
At least I got one boat out.
He begins to say goodbye to the family and friends he thinks he will never see again.
I felt alone from other humans. I felt that I'd left, you know, the other humans, the other people in my life behind. That part of my existence was over, and that I was going to die, and, you know, that I hoped that I'd done well in life, that I'd shown compassion and kindness to people, you know, and that they felt that love, you know. They say that your life flashes before your eyes when you're about to die, and very similar to the night before, I thought that death was imminent and very, very close. I felt that I'd left the other people in my life behind, that part of my existence was over, and that within a very few minutes I would be dead. I went vertical and I thought I saw a boat, but I was by no way sure. My mind was not together any longer. I was hallucinating heavily at that point. Either a boat was there or there wasn't.
Focus well. Focus well. Focus. Breathe. Hello?
I waved to them and yelled in Spanish as loud as I could.
Hello? Hello?
For them to have seen me was unlikely, so I laid back down in the water to await either drowning or rescue.
Having used up his last scrap of energy to wave at the boat, Will collapses in the water and awaits his fate.
I looked up and saw them, and I couldn't believe it at first.
Will has drifted miles from the search area, and by complete chance, he's finally spotted by passing fishermen. He's so close to giving up, his rescues come in the nick of time.
They said, "Come on, get on the boat." And I said, "I can't." I had no strength, you know? And they all reached down, and it was just, I think, as much in shock as I was when the plane crashed.
Oh my God.
I just couldn't believe it, you know? It crashed in the middle of the ocean, and my fat, pasty butt made it through 24 hours in the ocean.
When I found out Will was alive, that brought a lot of joy.
Hey, guys. Guys, come here. It's him, look. It's Will. He made it.
Wow, yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Come on. See?
How did you do that? Oh, look.
He didn't just survive the crash, he survived the crash and he survived the bloody ocean.
I just literally said, "Oh my God, I'm invincible." And I collapsed onto the boat and held onto this guy's leg until we got to shore. Unfortunately, the search and rescue operation was looking in the wrong places. There were some Costa Ricans that were looking in the mountains. Others were looking in different parts of the ocean. So when they found me, they had a better idea of where my friends were going to be.
A report was made that there were more survivors found. As it turned out, that was misinterpreted information on the radio, and that there were no survivors found.
Over the next few days, the bodies and plane wreckage are pulled from the ocean. Will's friends, Manny Sanchez and Jimmy Simplicio, along with the pilot and remaining passengers, all perished in the crash. Will is confirmed as the only survivor.
Manny was this amazing, almost cartoonish, almost childlike, beautiful human being.
Kyrgyzstan is a remote mountainous country in Central Asia, formerly part of the Soviet Union. It's here that 3 hunters have come on a trip of a lifetime in search of the rare Marco Polo sheep.
The Marco Polo sheep is probably the most majestic ram that you would see anywhere in the world.
Spook Span is here with his father, Denny.
All right, let's go.
The trip is the pinnacle of their lifetime's passion for hunting.
We're very much country people. Grew up hunting, fishing, running up and down the creeks and the rivers.
Hunting often takes them away from their home in Tennessee, but this is their most adventurous journey to date.
I really didn't know anything about Kyrgyzstan. just that it was mountainous. I did know that.
Hey, let's have a little wait for the camera, guys.
Joining the father and son is Spook's Canadian hunting buddy, Clay Lancaster.
The biggest appeal with the hunting part is the adventure. I mean, a lot of people think it's all about just shooting something, but it's not about that. It's about getting away from cities, telephones, people, getting into the high mountains.
The three friends arrive in Kyrgyzstan and set off in minivans for their remote base camp.
Come on, Clay, rise and shine.
There. I remember waking up and going, wow, is this ever cold? My feet were cold, my body was cold.
Hey.
Oh.
Mountains everywhere you looked, and it was absolutely beautiful.
This is it.
I felt about as remote as a human could possibly feel. I mean, we didn't even hear or see an airplane. I mean, there was nothing. Those are the kind of things that were a lot different than what I was used to.
Say, if I promise to be quick, calling home already, then?
Clay has brought along a satellite phone and GPS in case of emergency.
Back in 1 minute.
But Denny wants to check in with his wife, Ruby.
Hello, Ruby?
I called her and told her if we didn't fire a shot that this trip was worth it, because it was probably one of the most beautiful scenes I'd ever seen.
Boy, it was worth the journey. Thank you.
Hope you said your goodbyes, Denny. From now on, this is strictly an emergency phone.
Well, you kidding, Clay? Every call to the wife is an emergency.
Having bagged their trophy, the hunters are looking forward to heading home. Denny, Spook, and Clay leave base camp to travel on via the nearest town, over 300 miles away. But as they set off on the 8-hour journey, the weather begins to close in.
It had snowed a bunch. The road that we came in on, you couldn't actually even see it anymore because the wind got blown. It filled the road right in. I walked out away from the van, and I remember making a mark in the snow.
What'd you do that for?
I said, that's about as far as I think our Volkswagen van's gonna get.
I hope not.
I don't think we realized how deep and how bad it had got until we started.
Jeez, even I was being optimistic.
The snow is far too deep for the minivan. But the local guides now decide to carry on down the mountains to try and beat the oncoming blizzard.
And then that's when they said, oh, you have to get in this other truck. And I remember thinking, surprise, surprise. It was an old military type vehicle. It was wide open, the wind's blowing right up your tailpipe. It wasn't real comfortable in the back of there.
With Denny at the wheel, they struggle on through the snow.
And he did an awesome job. We actually made it further while he was driving than we did with anybody else.
But after a few hours, Denny tires and has to give up.
After he started back, he never let me drive anymore.
And as the day goes on, they keep hitting snowdrifts. The hunters are stranded in an icy wilderness, 10,000 feet above sea level in a raging snowstorm. Night is fast approaching, and the temperatures begin to plummet to minus 40 degrees.
How am I going to get out of here?
We decided just to stop and spend the night and wait and hopefully figure out a way to get out.
That's when you're beginning to get a little bit apprehensive about, how am I going to get out of here?
As night falls, the temperatures plummet. Exposure to this extreme of cold can kill human beings within minutes. With just their snowsuits and a thin canvas, they have to huddle up to keep as warm as they can.
I mean, it got down to, you know, somewhere around 30 to 40 below zero that night. The back of the truck was very crowded and it was very cold. It wasn't a fun, comfortable night by no means.
I was apprehensive, scared about the cold, being out of food. It was hard.
Maybe some sleeping bags out there.
Dad is very, you know, compassionate, always thinking of other people.
Somebody else.
And he was worried about were they going to be warm enough. We gave them whatever they needed, socks, boots, you know, jackets, whatever we had that we didn't have on our body ourselves, we let them use.
It's okay.
As night wears on, the locals sense just how dangerous the situation is.
They're getting a little worried. They live there all the time. They realize that people don't go out of their way to come save them, and there's no such thing as a search and rescue or anything like that.
Dawn on the third day brings a life-changing decision for Clay Lancaster. Stay and hope rescue will come, or risk hiking out to find help.
I thought to myself, okay, I'll give it to the end of today, and if nothing's happened by the end of today, then I'm walking. I definitely set it up in my mind that I was going to go.
As the weather clears, Clay's decision to stay proves to be the right one.
Listen.
Now it's like, there they are.
It's a helicopter, I know it is. Come on!
You know, it was a great feeling to see that helicopter come in.
They've only eaten scraps of food in the last 2 days, and they're ravenously hungry.
The food tasted really good.
Dinner's cold. Right.
And of course, they had their vodka. They always have vodka, you know. That's like water to them.
But no sooner has the helicopter landed than the hunters are astonished to see another unexpected sight heading towards them in the distance.
Then all of a sudden, here comes 3 snowmobiles.
We didn't have a clue who they were, where they were coming from.
It was like something you would see in a movie and you'd say, oh, that wouldn't really happen. These guys pull up, and the guys were from America. They spoke English.
We were kind of really shocked to see English-speaking U.S. Border Patrol guys on snow machines where we were at.
The Americans are on a training mission to help the Kyrgyzstan army, and they've been diverted to rescue the men.
And they said, we're here to get you guys out. And said, we'll do whatever you want to do, any way you want to do it.
Clay, Denny, and Spook now have a crucial decision to make. Decision made. The guides load up the chopper. But Spook notices it's carrying an enormous load.
As I get on the helicopter, and I just had a brief thought of, you know, that's kind of weird, you know. All our gear is just piled up in the middle of the floor in the helicopter. It's not strapped down, it's just kind of stacked up.
As it struggles to take off, he begins to doubt they've made the right decision.
And I look back at Clay and I said, do you think we're overloaded? But I mean, the crew seemed to be okay with it, so we just kind of let it roll off our shoulders and went with it.
The pilot gets airborne, and finally the ordeal is over. But as the helicopter makes its way over the mountains, it becomes clear something is wrong.
I could feel the helicopter sort of tip ahead a little bit. I thought, well, maybe it's out of balance or something.
Move back.
Each move back 1 seat.
Get back. Move back.
I remember looking back out of the window and still seemed like we were high up. And that's the last thing I remember.
The helicopter suddenly spins out of control and plummets to the ground.
I didn't even have time to put my hands up, and then my face flew right into the top of the roof of the helicopter.
It's just a horrifying moment. The fuel tank was on top of me.
I remember all of a sudden going, that looks kind of close. And then boom, we hit. We went sideways and we flipped 8, 9 times.
People were screaming and hollering and stuff was flying in every direction.
These drums came past me and hit me a couple of times. Then all of a sudden we came to a sliding sort of stop.
First thing I thought of was, you know, you don't live through these kind of things.
The helicopter is ripped open on impact. In the front, Clay is injured, his left eye badly bloodied. The first thing he hears are Denny's cries.
Denny started hollering from the back.
Where is he? Can you see him? Spook! Answer me, son. Answer me, son. Spook!
He didn't answer me.
Denny has no idea if his son has survived the crash.
That was one of the worst feelings I've ever had in my life. And I don't know whether it was 1 minute or 5 minutes or whatever it was. It seemed like an eternity.
As I turned to my right, I seen Spook laying down beside me. I said, it's okay, he's right here, he's right here. I said, I got him.
Spook!
Spook is alive but badly injured. He's been crushed on impact and has broken 6 ribs.
Easy, son.
I had blood coming out of my mouth. I could actually feel 1 or 2 of my ribs moving when I would breathe. Felt like knives sticking in me. I've never been in that much pain in that many different places.
Denny and Clay pull him out of the wreckage.
It was like something that would happen to you in a dream. And all of a sudden, you just go deaf. It just goes quiet.
And it's only now Clay realizes that he too is badly injured.
And I realized at that point there that I couldn't see anything out of my one eye.
That eye.
It was bloody and looked like his eyeball was just torn out almost. You know, I thought it was gone.
And I looked at Denny and I said,
how bad is it? It's bad.
Clay has lost the sight in one eye. But despite his injury, he and Denny head back into the wreckage to help the others still trapped inside.
There was some people's faces were just torn. It was really, really bad. People were hurt bad.
And I pushed send.
It produces the slimmest of lifelines.
Hello?
It went through to my brother.
Hey, it's me again.
And I said, helicopter crashed. And I got half the GPS coordinates of where we're at to him.
Bro?
And then the phone went dead.
You still there? Bro? Bro?
Did my brother catch it all? Did he write it down? I don't know.
With no idea if the coordinates got through, they now face their third night out in the wilderness. And Clay realizes Denny is in extreme pain.
You okay, Denny?
My pain seemed to get worse as the nights went on.
Okay.
I had him lift up his shirt and could see a lot of bruising.
It's my ribs.
The adrenaline has been masking the pain until now.
And I could tell his ribs were broken. And I was worried that, something was going to happen to him, whether it was puncturing a lung or maybe he'd already done something. Maybe he had some bleeding inside, too.
I say you've broken a couple of ribs there, Denny.
Yeah, well, maybe, but you don't look too good yourself.
Shoes and stuff.
It was like crazy. They just couldn't cope with it. They didn't try to preserve anything for any later moments.
I thought this is going to get really bad in a quick hurry.
Clay decides he must act, or risk everyone dying on the mountainside.
I'm not really good at sitting there and not doing anything. I don't really wait for anybody else to tell me what to do. I just go do it.
But Clay himself is carrying an awful injury.
I took a bunch of snow, cleaned off my eye the best that I could, and actually took some duct tape that I had there and just duct taped it up.
He now realizes he has no option. Half blind, he knows he must leave the wreckage and seek help.
This isn't good, if I don't walk out of here, there's definitely going to be some other people that are going to be gone.
Back at the wreckage, Denny and Spook can only wait and hope Clay will make it through.
Seeing death around you, seeing people other people who you think may die within the next few hours, and being faced with the possibility that you may be one of those people. I had thoughts about, missing out on my kids growing up and, all the things that you get to experience and enjoy as a father. Fishing trips, hunting trips, ball games, plays, just watching them grow up. I love my wife dearly, and the thoughts of, not getting to see her again, race through your mind. It was the worst feeling, the worst moments that I've ever experienced.
Clay and the guide have been battling through the snow for 10 hours.
My legs didn't have the energy. Every time I'd step, I was like, take a deep breath, and it's just like picking up a chunk of lead.
They're completely exhausted.
It was getting closer to dark, and I hit the top of the hill.
Then, out of nowhere, he sees the sign of life he's been hoping for.
I looked in front of me, and I could see a military outpost, and I could hear snow machines.
It's a chance of rescue. But the riders of the snowmobiles can't see Clay and the guide. He has to find a way to get their attention.
It didn't seem like it got anybody's attention.
But Clay notices that one of the riders has stopped.
He went to the back part of his machine, and I fired a shot back behind him. And I watched with my binoculars, and his head popped up. I fired a second shot. And they all kind of turned and looked back towards him. And I could see they seen me, and they all jumped on the machine and come roaring to where I was at.
Incredibly, The snowmobiles are the same ones from the US military that Clay, Denny and Spook turned down a lift with just 36 hours earlier.
Seeing English-speaking guys on snow machines at that point, I was pretty happy to see them.
After 3 days out in the mountains, their ordeal is finally over.
Hearing that snowmobile get closer and closer and seeing him pull up, it was a sweet feeling.
Oh, it was just a great feeling. That was one of the greatest feelings I've ever had.
The hunters are flown to Hong Kong, where they receive medical treatment. Clay's eye is treated, and his sight is saved.